As we've seen in Rozelle's report, there are varying degrees of abortion laws across the very culturally, religiously, and politically diverse landscape of Asia. Dr. Jemy Gatdula, lecturer on international law at the University of Asia and the Pacific School of Law, joins us from the Philippines now to dig a little deeper into the pro-life challenges there and in India and China. It's so great to have you here with us. We just heard that illegal abortions are quite common in the Philippines. Is the government doing anything to support pregnant women?
Well, first of all, we don't really know how common it is in the Philippines, precisely because it is indeed a criminal act. We don't really have the exact numbers. A lot of the numbers that you have there are pretty much suppositions. So, assuming that the numbers are indeed correct, let us say that there are indeed a lot of efforts being made by the government to help pregnant women, especially, of course, single pregnant women. A lot of it has to do with development of income, being able to go back to being educated, tax breaks, vacation breaks, mental and psychological assistance that could be given to them by the government. There has been recently passed a single mother a law giving welfare benefits for single mothers. But I have to say that a lot of it is essentially treating the symptom rather than the disease, or perhaps band-aid solutions. The fact that there is indeed an increase in teenage pregnancies in the Philippines is what should be addressed rather than the pregnancies itself. Perhaps greater adherence or knowledge with regard to the responsibility needed for pregnancy. The advocacy for more responsible parenthood, or even for family planning in a more responsible way, should perhaps be the ones that's emphasized. As it is, the focus, I think, of the government is a bit misplaced. There are indeed moves right now to decriminalize abortion, but again, that's, I think, more of a panacea rather than actually helping or addressing the true problem, which is the rising teenage pregnancies or rising incidences of broken families or single motherhoods in the Philippines, which ultimately will redound to not to the advantage or benefit of the children that will eventually result from these pregnancies.
Are there consequences, moving over into China, are there consequences for pro-life advocacy in China, either social or legal consequences?
Well, interestingly enough, if you're in China, perhaps there may be some sort of wind into your sails, so to speak, because of the two things, because of the recent ruling in the US, which has given those who are more constitutionally minded some legal ground to be able to go against abortion. But I think the main reason why I think the pro-life movement should be getting a little bit of a bump is the fact that there are really great concerns right now with regard to their population. Right now, there are estimates that perhaps China's population will greatly decrease to around the 750 million to even below 600 million by even middle of the century. This is on the assumption, for example, that China is overestimating its population count. India, for example, will probably be overtaking China by middle of the century. Even Nigeria is expected to do so. And the fact that you have a rapidly aging Chinese population perhaps is one of the reasons why China is tightening a little its abortion laws and loosening its population control programs, particularly the one-child policy that it recently did, I think, in 2016.
Right, those changes were significant. You mentioned the effect of Roe versus Wade. India's abortion laws were enacted around the same time as Roe versus Wade, that decision that created a right to abortion in the United States. Do you think we could someday see a similar change in India?
Well, that's really difficult because India is in the opposite position. India is in a way increasing its population in such a way that it will actually even overtake China. So perhaps population-wise, it may be, even though it may not be the correct thing to think of, the Malthusian mindset may perhaps be coming in as far as a lot of the Indian policymakers are concerned. And so there may be some impetus for them to actually agree to a more loosening up of their abortion laws, which we have seen in their Supreme Court, which is actually an agreement to have abortion for 24 weeks, up to the 24 weeks of gestation period, which is even far more strict than the one that was actually the subject of the Dobbs ruling. So it's really well, it's really hard to be able to determine what would be the ultimate outcome as far as India's population policies will be concerned. They recently had a law loosening up or even giving recognition of rights as far as sex workers is concerned. So that perhaps gives you some sort of an idea of where the progressive mindset of a lot of India's policymakers are, at least as of now.
It seems like it's a big contradiction to allow sex workers and then at the same time be worried about population control. Is that really the motivation, that they're changing from 20 weeks to 24 weeks from a desire to control the population?
Well, the desire that's actually put in officially is the fact that there could be no distinction being made between married women and unmarried women. And that would be probably correct in the sense that if you're going to be allowing married women to have abortion up to 24 weeks, then indeed there should be no reason why you should limit it to married women and not give it to unmarried women. But ultimately, the question is why you should even be allowing abortion for women at all, even up to the point of having it to the 24th week of gestation. And the only reason that we can come up with, including the fact that India, for example, would be quite enthusiastic with regard to contraception or other reproductive, so-called reproductive health plans, could only perhaps give an indication as that population control is their main reason for this. And the fact that they are also limiting, for example, sex selectivity is also one of the reasons, I think, why we could probably point to population control as the mindset or the purpose for these abortion policies.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jemy.
Thank you.